Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris BlueRaven, and I'm here with my special guest, John Stormm. John, you with me?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, we've been talking a lot about the MK Ultra, and it's interesting, when you think about it, as we touched on before, there's a maelstrom of strangeness going on where I think people are just having a lot of internal conflicts. Perhaps there's a need to work out some of this stuff. Maybe that's why it's
Oh, yeah.
bubbling up.
Well, and being now think to being more than one side to anything. The nice thing too is, uh, we are going into Ostara. This is that season of new beginning. We can switch over to the witchier side of things, and because there are solutions there.
Mm-hmm.
Spellcraft is the art of finding solutions, problem solving. And being a nice time, a season of new beginnings. This is, a lot of people like to make themselves New Year's resolutions, and it's like they just kind of got in the habit of making promises they don't keep, and they got to learn to make promises they do keep, where their will and their word actually mean something. Otherwise, other people with stronger wills end up ruling over them with really weak things.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about this paradigm is just total illusion and falsity and everything else. Once you start seeing it and it's breaking down, now it's time to take your power back, to take control. Ostara, spring, Beltane, all that is kind of like a season of, like life begins anew. The trees get their foliage on, and all that. You've just been through the snow and the winter and the death of it all, the slumber. Now it's time to wake up out of that sleep, and a new age is beginning. This old age, I call this last couple millennia the golden age of warlocks, oathbreakers.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they've been ruling everybody with campaign promises, with lies and deceit, and they'll give you, ask for this, they give you that. Well, it looks a lot like this, but it's not. It's a counterfeit. And you try to find some peace in it, and you find out that you have no peace because, well, it's not true, and it's not true to your own soul. So, this particular time of season, where there's new life in that, it's finding that new life in yourself, finding out who you are. Let those leaves and those branches sprout, prune the stuff that doesn't work for you, that's dead and not bearing fruit, and kind of take over yourself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my things about writing that book, especially Practical Witchery. Of course, I got to all those other books there too. They're fantasies, but they're also based on the same craft in like a lot of real life experiences. So it can be entertaining and education at the same time, where it'll make you think, it'll make you consider, well, geez, can I do that for myself? It's like, of course you can. When I spoke of my masters and my handlers at MK Ultra using the sleep teaching, I'd fix up myself a looping cassette tape and some pillow speakers to teach myself to program myself. Well, it's even easier for you now than it was for me back in the 70s, because you can just record it on Real Player, and set that thing to loop over and over again. Take a couple earbuds, stick them under your pillow, and turn the volume up. It doesn't have to be so loud that you hear it through the house. It
Mm-hmm.
just has to be picked up by your subconscious. It's in your voice. You're the person you can trust. You're the person in control and at the reins. And, like I say, that's what spellcraft's all about. It's problem solving. A spell is a period of time where an influence or influences are brought to bear to accomplish a desired goal. In the case of the sleep teaching, it's a period of time. It's the time you're resting at night and your subconscious is working full time, where certain influence, your own voice, your own commands, is brought to bear to accomplish a desired goal, to bring you out instead of all of the distractions that the world's been giving you,
Right.
to bring you and help you grow into the person that you need to be. They can tack the word apple tree, but if you're bearing oranges, the sign don't mean anything.
Exactly. It's real interesting when you talk about the entrainment with just a regular old cassette or whatever. With psychotronics, as you well know, and artificial telepathy, you don't have the
Mm-hmm.
choice and the option. Especially when I was inducted in 2004, my handler was programming me, and I hated
Yes.
that because I couldn't escape him because he was interconnected with my brain live feed real time with the AI. It's very disgusting technology, you guys. I'll have to tell you. And just thinking about it, you want to talk about people infringing on your personal will or your
Yeah.
free will to have silence of the mind or to manifest in consciousness. When you have somebody there trying to literally program you, and I always tell everybody this. This is kind of like the end game, in my opinion, is where they're heading is with this artificial god, this manufactured
Mm-hmm.
synthetic god that's created from this electronic warfare and this psychotronics involved. So that's the way they compromise the brain, because once they interconnect everybody through an array system, they can entrain them and they force them to hear this dialogue or communication. It's not schizophrenia. It's not
Yeah.
like you're losing your
No.
mind. And this is
No.
the thing I'm thinking, John. I think that's their end game. I really do. I think
But
that's
you
what they
have to
want.
find your mind, and you have to
Mhm.
know what it is, and you have to have your own will to be, or you have to resist. They
Exactly.
can be resist. Even the Bible says, for those of you of the Christian persuasion, resist the devil and he will flee. I don't care if it's Lucifer himself. Resist. People are so trained. Well, this is the authority. We got to do what they say. We can't fight City Hall. Hey, I've done it. I have literally fought City Hall before, not physically, but I've stood up against them and I made it count.
Hmm.
It's like, you don't have to accept their authority. The only reason that the way their authority works is if you accept it, if you give in to it, if you bow to it. I know it's hard. I know, they'll make you think, well, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll do this for you. But my experience, I got we're going on 63 years of experience in this MK Ultra. They tell me I'll be a former MK Ultra when I'm dead. I quit about the late 70s. My last missions was around 78, and I went totally rogue or renegade. This doesn't mean I went working for the enemy. I worked for me. I was my own ultra. I start taking care of my own programming, making up my own mind about things, and decided I wasn't going to work for them. I wasn't going to do their will. And they did everything they could to make my life hard and make it miserable.
Hmm.
But it has been my life. If they couldn't move me, they'd interfere with my wife and with my children, and even to this day,
Hmm.
the thing last January with my daughter, it's like it can happen anytime. It's like don't don't talk yourself into this little sweet persuasion where, well, if I do what they want me to do, things will go easier. Look, when they call you an asset, that's another term for property. All right. You don't have rights. You're property. You're an asset. They sell assets. They acquire assets. They liquidate assets. When they retire an asset, you don't sit in a lounge chair by a pool in Florida.
Hmm.
You take a dirt nap.
Yep.
That's how they treat their people. Their assets. So it's like giving in is not the answer.
Exactly.
Okay, you're just putting yourself up for more torture, more disappointment, and more losing your own soul. What will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? It's like they'll promise you the whole world, but you won't get it.
It's a downward spiral to nowhere.
Right. It's always a downward spiral. It always.
Hmm.
There's never a time that it's not. Show me a CIA that's got agent that's rich and famous somewhere and sitting on top of the world in I'll show you a billboard.
So true, isn't it? But I agree with you. Yeah, you resist, and that's what I did. I overrode the technology, but I still have anomaly signals. But it pisses me off.
I
And
still get them too, and there's times where I'm in just total anxiety and everything else, and it's like I'm sick. I'm not the ultra I once was. I mean, I'm still a very formidable looking guy. I'm still very skilled. I don't quite have the strength, the physical strength that I had before. I do have some resilience because I do seem to snap back somewhat,
hmm
but it's not quite the same as when I was younger. So I mean, I feel like I'm on shaky ground all the time, and it worries me.
hmm
One of these days I'm not gonna get an object between me and the rifle, the bullet in time. And it's kind of like, well, I don't mind the idea of dying. Dying's a part of living. That cycle of life, and it's like when you drop this, you don't cease to be. You are an immortal soul. You don't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body. The
Right.
skin suit is not meant to last forever. It's just to get you through this little part till you learn what you need to learn to grow and become who you're really meant to be. And that's who you got to find. In all of these distractions and everything, you got to find out who you are and what you're a part of, and start growing with it. And once you start growing with that, you're stronger and you'll grow further than even the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the people at the top of the pyramid will ever be able to acquire or achieve, ever, even beyond them.
Oh yeah, well those guys, to me, they're going extinct. I mean, they don't have an evolution.
This is very true. We're at the end of their age and a new age is beginning. And I hate to use that new age thing because people think of these crazy old cat ladies and purple moo-moos and totally ungrounded, horse pucky and all that other kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, no, there's something new coming because a certain consciousness has to rise out of this. And that dinosaur crap has got to go extinct.
I so agree. And it's not the New World Order. I consider them the No World Order. I see them all going flatline, actually. I think they're all imploding, intuitively speaking.
And I like even checking ancient. I love reading the Book of Enoch and ancient prophecies of all kinds, and all of them agree on that level. In fact, it says even the graves won't even hold them anymore. Just kind of kick them out of their graves, the graves of their fathers. They won't even have that benefit. The time will come when their names are not even known anymore, but yet you'll still be here.
Infinite souls, and they don't have it. What's really interesting? People have so much potential, John, and they waste so much energy, psychic energy, being drained into this wormhole and distortion created by these cabals and all of this linear garbage we've been talking about.
Have you ever noticed how much energy some people will expend to try to appear normal? I caught myself when I was a much younger man doing that. I would try so hard, and sooner or later something would happen and I'd have to react, or I'd do something that normal people can't do.
Well, that's funny.
and then people kind of give me, get this freak show look at me, and I'd be alienated again, and I'd be feeling really, really bad. And it's kind of like, it's not worth it. It took a long time to learn that.
Yeah. Well, they're so entrained. The thing is, I don't think they know how to think outside the box. It's really unfortunate. Yeah. It's all conditioning, all entrainment. And it seems like some of us enter onto the timeline where we just have maybe old souls and an advancement on some level where we just know we have this ability, which I'm very grateful for because I've always had that. But I see a lot of people are just kind of lost. And it kind of makes me feel sad because they really don't understand. And yet the only thing they know how to do is emulate all these weirdos in Hollywood where they come up with these.
Well, that's the whole purpose. Now, that was the thing. Well, one of the main things behind MK Monarch, they made the celebrities. They made the movie actors and actresses like Marilyn Monroe and all of that. This is your sex goddess. This is what your idea of beauty and perfection is going to be because of these celebrities, sports stars and stuff like that. They groom these people. You see people like and say, now, sheesh, why did she kill herself? Why was she so sad? She was rich. She was gorgeous. She was a sex goddess. And it's like, because, see, she was mind controlled too. She was molded over into this thing. And she wasn't Marilyn Monroe. She wasn't loved. She was Norma Jean. And nobody knew Norma Jean. Everybody thought they knew Marilyn. And Marilyn wasn't loved, and Marilyn was missing it. Marilyn, Norma never got a chance to express herself. She was hidden inside this plastic entity that Hollywood made of her. And it's true of a lot of the people from the MK Monarch thing. Some of them were sex slaves, and some of them were all kinds of things. They just didn't have one cookie cutter, but they made a certain standard of what beauty or music or what you're going to be listening to, what's cool this year, what's going to sell, how they're going to sell you so many of these. Hey, we're going to make mini skirts popular. You're going to pay, and we're going to just rake in the money from all of this. For one, for two, we're going to control society so we makes it go where we want it to go. People are going to be constantly reaching for these ideals. They're going to be distracted by these bright lights, these shining stars, but they're not going to be paying attention to the fact that excuse me, their representative, their president, he's getting caught into scandal after scandal after scandal. And every time he gets up and promises them something, well, they've been so distracted by this other bright star, they don't realize this guy's been lying and cheating them the whole time. And yet they're going to vote for him again based upon the lies, the campaign promises he makes over the campaign promises that the other guys make. And everybody knows campaign promises are synonymous with lies.
Well, it's all part of the corporate cabal anyway. It's all orchestrated. And that's the whole
why
thing.
Would you play that game? If you're in a Vegas casino, all right, your hyperspace show is coming up. If you're in a Vegas casino, do you sit? Does a rational person sit down to a poker table, knowing that the dealer is using a mechanic's grip and he's cheating? You got to play by the rules, but they get to break them. Do you really think you have a snowball's chance in hell of walking out of there with your money or breaking even?
Exactly.
You don't sit down at a crooked table. Don't go to, your court's corrupt, your congressman's corrupt, this is corrupt today. Why would you, if your local police are corrupt, why would you call one?
It's like you don't participate, but at the same time, we have to make an effective change. And what is the solution to the equation besides opting out? Is it a revolution? You have to ask yourself. It looks like we're heading that way, John. I swear, it almost seems like we're going to have another.
Some places have gone to as far as the point is to abolish their local police, and hire private security. And that private security better do what their bosses tell them, or they don't have a job. And it seems like, sheesh, that's what the cops would be doing. But they're doing that because it's corporate and everybody else is controlling it. It's like, no, you got to get those thugs out of uniform. There are some good cops. Of course there are. They can work for the new people. You can hire them. It's like you can screen them, get rid of the psychos and the tyrants and the testosterone-ridden donut bags and get people who represent your values. Don't vote A or B or the lesser of two evils. Every time you vote for the lesser of two evils, you agree that evil is a necessity.
Yeah, we need a shakedown. This country needs a shakedown. I would love to see it all just flushed out insofar as getting rid of all the corruption. But there are so many levels and layers to it. I've discussed this before, John. We have so many layers. I mean, think about it. Before we even entered onto the timeline, before we were even born in the illusion of birthing, I mean, these guys have been up to no good. No good.
Yes, they have, for generations upon generations. And people have been conditioned generations upon generations to bow to authority. If it wasn't nobility and divine right, now it's these people. And actually, most of them are related to nobility. How many presidents we had that aren't related to royalty? I think there might have been one or two.
Right.
But I mean, all of them, and they all come from family. In the beginning of any election, this is an election year now. You start looking at the candidates, the ones that has the biggest campaign chest, the biggest amount of money, very likely going to be the winner. I mean, if I was going to gamble on it, I'd bet on the guy. I remember when the Bushes were going, man, they had quite a few millions of dollars more than the other guy. And it's like, guess who won? And then we had the Diebold scandals, and it turned out that, well, we can't produce the machines cannot give you the actual who voted for what, or, how many exactly, what counts of this or that. But basically the counts are buyable, and people had been buying certain states and stuff went red or blue because so-and-so paid more into it than another. And it's like nothing ever got done of that. And it's like, you're going to get on the same machines and do it again.
Oh, they're already screwing around with the voting. I mean, they're already messing with it. So you can't even count on that. Literally.
Right. And the guy with the most gold is going to get to make the most rules.
Well, whoever kisses ass to the Rothschilds,
allowed to make. our constitution, they'll, in order to get into office, in order for me to get into uniform as a military man, I had to swear to uphold and protect the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And so does every president, senator, congressman, mayor, governor, so on and so forth that's gotten judge, that's gotten into office. They had to say that oath before they took that office. Mm-hmm. But we're back on the warlock paradigm. Warlock means oath breaker, traitor.
Yep.
They say the words, they mean nothing. The fingers are crossed behind their back. Mm-hmm. That's not wisdom. That's not power. That's corruption
and treason.
That's rot. Yep. By the time we cut all the rot out, we don't have a human body left capable of standing.
Yep.
But we can't build upon the rot either, because that will collapse. It has to be cut out, raised down, and built up from scratch. We already got a decent constitution that respects the rights. We had checks and balances, but one by one they took those out, and now they're writing things, and it's kind of like there was something about these guys meeting to decide whether or not to make a law against us talking about conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's kind of like, now exactly, wait, you're on my tax dollars, your money, you're being paid with my tax dollars to talk treason. To talk, you shouldn't even be talking about this stuff on my bill.
I have this I have this saying, John, it's censoring the truth is admission of guilt. And that's what it boils down to. Because if they have to lash out at anybody who's even questioning, that tells you right there that they're guilty about something, that they're
and
intimidated.
If they got to threaten you at a gunpoint to do it, it's obviously not a good idea, is it?
Exactly. It's just really interesting to me, but that's the one thing. It's like, give me liberty or give me I can't talk tonight. Give me liberty or give me death. But seriously speaking, it's really about
these days people are so confused. It's give me ambiguity or give me something else.
Right. But it's just, I can't figure out why on earth they would want to be complacent insofar as not standing up and being counted for their own independence, for their own freedom of thought, freedom of consciousness.
And some people just don't have it.
I have it because my anchor is with the multiverse, That's where it comes from. It comes from the creator. I don't have any fear. I really don't. Fear is a program. I just keep going. I keep ascending and I keep navigating in alignment with the multiverse versus man's bullshit. Excuse me, my French.
Yeah, I made my choices. Well, as an ultra, it's like, well, if you look at me, I am 1953, and I'm inducted into bouncing blonde hair, blue-eyed baby boy. In my height, I was about 6'5", 220 pounds. IQ 160 plus. 160 was the low end. 210 was the high end of the IQ. But I am what the Nazi doctors envisioned as the Superman or the super soldier. Mm-hmm. All right. And they programmed me certain ways. Now, some things I had to learn to accept. I do not accept that I'm superior to nobody. I was messed with. And some people do some things far better than I do. And I think that makes them valuable. It doesn't matter that they're not my size, my strength, or any of that. There's other things they do that they shine at. And, to me, I see souls. I don't see bodies. I see souls, spirits.
Right.
But in my case, I was programmed. Now, they say ultras are fearless. It's like, no, we got more reason to be afraid than anybody else. We really do. We've seen what it's like to be, when you get into a FEMA camp and the government's got complete control over your life and can do anything they want to you. I've already been there. Mm-hmm. Already seen firsthand. I saw what happened to the other children and everything where I was at, and I'll never forget it. It'll never leave my mind. It'll never leave my soul. But they also programmed out, people have what they call a fight or flight response. Ultras do not have a flight response. We have only a fight response. Mm-hmm. So my only option is to resist, to fight. If I can't handle it, if I can't comply with it, I'm going to resist. This was their doing. It's also their downfall. These people who made what they thought were going to be the perfect soldiers in that, they do not compare. Well, we're superior. Yeah, I remember I was marching with some civil rights people, a lot of black people back in Rochester in the early to mid 60s, and my handlers were telling me, well, you shouldn't be hanging with those people. We're not like those people. Those people are not like us. And I'm going, thank God, because they're really sweet people. They're warm people, I like these folks. I don't like you. You're kind of slimy. And you're a coward, and you're craven, and you're deceitful.
They are.
And
And you know what I don't like about them, John? They always get everybody else to do their dirty work. They're not real men or women. They can't fight their own battles. They've got to utilize people with beautiful gifts or try to hijack them for an agenda. It just ticks me off when I think about these people.
Yeah, when back in the late 60s, early 70s, they talk about all these satanic rituals, and where they do the black mask, and they'd step on the church wafer and piss in the holy water or something like that, or have sex on the altar with boys or girls or stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, they do that. But when you think about what kind of desecration really takes a poke at the Creator, stepping on a frickin' wafer, turning a cross upside down, really? How about when you twist a human being into being something they were never meant to be, just for your own profit and perverted jollies?
Exactly.
Now, there is the worst thing in the world that I can think of anybody doing. Of course, and they are Luciferians. They prefer that over the word Satanist. That's so vulgar and crass, and it's kind of, look, there's no good way to describe these people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Well, as I said, I believe that they're fated for extinction. There's no place for them to go. They can't ascend. They're unwilling to ascend, and they want to sink everybody with them. So the only option for them is to implode, is literally to just go extinct. Right. And that's what I see. I mean, we have immortal souls, as you were saying, and even when we transfer out, we have the continuation of a journey. We have a multiverse. Absolutely. That's a huge, huge multiverse, which is an extension of what you want to call Creator. I call Creator source energy. I mean, we're all Absolutely. Part of it. I mean, my goodness. I mean, that to me, and that's why I don't want people to forget that, because we get so wrapped up here on the timeline, but we have to understand we are just a little tiny rock here in the illusion of a cosmos. We've got this big multiverse out there.
And even in the same place, the dimensionality of it all, occupying the same space and the same time that we are in right now, it's like the potential is, in fact, quantum physicists measure things in potential. This electron is only here when we're observing it. Like, let's talk about this hydrogen atom. It's got one electron going around it, around the nucleus. And it's kind of like, and look at that thing, it's 99.99999% empty space. And besides that, what's holding that little electron around that one nucleus? Well, it actually only exists it doesn't exist by itself as an electron. It exists in relation to that one nucleus. But it also disappears. It's only there when we observe it, when we consciously observe it. And it's like, where does it go after it? This is where they figure it does the dimension hopping from parallel worlds. That same hydrogen atom exists in all these parallel worlds. And the same is true of every atom of your body. It's like the thing these Luciferians and these elitists want you to think of is everything in your life is material. He who finishes with the most toys wins. Everything in this world is the important stuff. But the universe, somebody once said that if you took all of the particles of all of the atoms and collapsed them, took all the empty space out of them, you'd have a little ball about the size of a marble. All right. So the whole reality of our universe and our multiverse is not in the material. It's in consciousness that exists between all of the atoms and the particles that defined that this is going to have one electron and be a hydrogen atom. And your own body, your consciousness exists in your body. You ever notice when somebody, dies that and you see them in the pine box with a lily in their hand at their funeral, and you just kind of realize the person that you knew isn't in that box anymore, isn't in that body anymore. Those same atoms that define those electrons are hopping from alternative universe to alternative universe to different yous everywhere, and eventually that collective you comes together. And talk about vast, when the psalmist said, I said ye are gods, little g, It's like this is what we're intended to be. This is what you got to realize yourself. Now, it doesn't mean get arrogant. There's greater than us all over the place in all of this. The spectrum is incredibly vast and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't do stuff out of a cookie cutter. The Creator, creation is incredibly diverse, and we're noticing that with every new planet, every new star we study, and everything else, right down to the little atoms that they're smashing all over the place, from the microcosmic to the macrocosmic. It's incredible, and we belong to it. We have a place in it, and not the place they say that we have to occupy.
Exactly.
We got growth of our own to do, and we need to shake off these shackles, find out who we are, and quit being who they say we are, and become. That's all we have to do. We got eternity to become.
Exactly. Well said, John. It's Celestial Heritage 101. That's the bottom line. What you're describing. It's in our DNA, it's in our cells and our atoms, it's in our psyche, it's in our consciousness, it's in our soul and spirit. And you know what? And for them to sit there in these illusions of these cabals and sit there and try to control, manipulate anybody's thoughts or what they have to say or how they say it, they have no authority whatsoever.
No, it's the height of their arrogance, and they, when the religionists and everybody told you, well, we're the only people in the entire universe. It's like, how arrogant can you get?
How illiterate, yes.
Yeah, we're the top of the freaking food chain in the universe ever. There's no aliens or better people or lesser people or anything else out there. This is the only life in the universe. It's like, that is just so incredibly arrogant that it's just beyond belief. And
it reeks of mind control.
Why anybody would let that person say another word without putting him in a monogram straitjacket and dumping him in a rubber room somewhere is beyond me.
Right. Well, you know what it reminds me of? It's total entity control, transhumanism. There's a difference between being connected to source with your soul and spirit and being part of this black box technology, which is nothing but a bunch of short-circuited bad hardware and software programs.
If you look at the MRIs of my skull, it's like there should be a tag that says Radio Shack on my forehead or something.
Well,
it's incredible. But the human spirit overcomes all and can. I will fight it to my dying day, everything about this machine. And my dying day is only a graduation day for me. I got the Yoda thing all planned out.
I love it. It's interesting, too. I haven't looked at my, when I get one, it's going to look bad. I know that for sure, too. But not as bad as yours, I'm sure. I've got a lot of things that are going on, and I don't even want to see it.
Yeah, I was so shocked when I saw mine. It's like I knew I might have one or two here. I could see the one in my left hand. I could just look at my hand now and I can see that.
There's damage. Yeah. And it's directed energy weapon with me, but I don't know how yours was. But yeah.
Well, there's brain damage. Like I say, the epilepsy, the seizures now have gone beyond the little spastic things into full blown epilepsy. Though nothing grand mal yet, but eventually it'll get to that if I live long enough. There's no kind of going back from that. But
they try to simulate schisms in the brain, and that's the problem. They take a healthy brain and try to create all these different types of they've done heterodyning, EEG heterodyning and cloning, and create the schism effect to a point where you get all these synapses that are not normal.
Right, and I'm fighting them like all the time, and that's it's kind of my lot, my wife used to kind of blame me for some of the things. Well, why, just got laid off again. What did you do this time? Well, I didn't do anything. And for a long time I was feeling bad, like, well, I didn't. And it's kind of like, well, actually I did. I said no. I stood up. I was the man that I always knew I should be. I made no excuses for myself. I did nothing to justify anything that I did that was bad. I always tried my best to make it right. And if these people, if I make them look bad and they don't like it, or they want me to be this other way and I'm not, that's their problem. This is my choice. Okay, I'm suffering their reactions and their wrath for making the choices I did, but they were going to kill me anyway. Mm-hmm. The fact that I've lived this long is really incredible. I was never meant to live this long.
Yeah, I'm really glad, actually, that you've recovered. I mean, considering when I first encountered you and you were kind of going a little bit downhill, and now you're recovering, and I just saw that picture of you on the beach, and it's like, wow, you're resurrected. You look really good. So I'm glad to see that. I think we do have a way of bouncing back, energetically speaking, through higher powers and divine intervention.
Yeah, you can. You can start writing your own program and filling that out. I'm not really interested in the material world, but I try to do the best I can while I'm here in it. I want the best health I get. I want the best control I can have of myself and my own environment, and I want to be considerate of others.
Right. And you are. The bottom line is you are. This is a very strange world, and there's a lot of hostility here. I mean, think about the layers and layers of people who were programmed for decades that are now just starting to get more and more triggered. I mean, I'm looking at all these agencies, and every single one of those people, the personnel, their entire personnel is controlled and manipulated and programmed. That's huge. Yeah. And then you have the mass collective who's also part of that simulation. I just think there's a lot of strangeness here, and thank goodness we do have soul and spirit, because that's going to get us home.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandma used to say that I was going to die of testosterone poisoning when I was a boy, but unlike a lot of, I was a very big kid, very, very tall, very, very strong, very intelligent, maybe too much for my own good sometimes. But I never saw the glory in picking on a little guy. Well, Grandma also said, too, if I was strong or I was wise, it was not for me. It was for those who weren't.
Yep.
It's to be able to help your brothers and sisters along. Or you're worth nothing. It's like, what good is it? You're admiring yourself in the mirror. What? It's nothing unless you can bring somebody else along with you. And also, what glory is it picking on a sheep when you can pick on a full-grown bear or a gorilla that's picking on a sheep? Now, if you want a little glory, that's where the glory lies. Don't he beat up? Yeah, that 6'5" guy beat up somebody that was 5'2". Oh no, go for somebody that's 7 foot tall that's eating those two at a time. Take him down. Now you got something to crow about.
Really? That's so true, isn't it?
Just a little spirit. I'm not really advocating picking on anybody, but sometimes, I think it was Einstein says he wasn't so much afraid of that the evil of the world was what was going to prevail. It was the good men that do nothing.
Absolutely.
That stand by and let it happen. Well, in my soul, I found out looking for who I was. I'm not that man that's just going to do nothing. I'm not going to be good for nothing. I'm going to be good for something. When I see somebody needs help, I'm in it. I don't have any excuse for turning away. I own my own ultra. If they've been grooming you or this person or that person, and you feel you've been groomed for this, that, or the other thing, don't do what they want you to do. You own your own ultra, your own monarch, or your own whatever the heck it is that they took. They did some things to you. Some of it you can't undo. Some of it you can redirect in more constructive and evolutionary sound.
Right, you can transcend it, bottom line.
Yes,
and being constructive and productive, that's so true, John, because seriously speaking, I mean, you just deprogram what they tried to create and then reconstruct it at a higher level of consciousness.
I don't have the fight or flight, so I'm never going to run from danger when it rears its ugly head. Right. But, I'm going to make the best of it. I also program myself, don't make permanent solutions to temporary problems. If I don't see lethal force coming, I'm not going to just kill for the hell of it, because that person will never get a chance to learn from their mistakes. We all make mistakes.
I wish people would respect life a little bit more. That's another point, too. It seems to me like they don't care anymore. Everybody's expendable and collateral damage.
Yeah, I think I've learned that. When I was a boy, they made me very prejudiced about the Chinese and the North Koreans, because they told me that's who killed my father, and it wasn't true as it turned out. But I grew up for many. I didn't even know that till I was in my 40s. That wasn't true. So all that time I had this thing where I just hated those people because I had to grow up like this bastard and suffer all of this stuff being without a dad. I mean, it's like growing up with one arm cut off and the wound never heals. And so I also became very good at Chinese Kenpo, and I'm just a first class killer of Asians, and it's kind of like, but I've met so many Asians and lived among so many Asians and got so much exposure to them, learning these martial arts and that I learned there was so many people that I actually loved and admired, and you just you just realize you can't make blanket statements about anybody, any race, anyhow, and eventually I had to respect human life. It's funny. While they were making me into a monster, I found my humanity. Like
Hmm.
Pinocchio, I became. They made me this wooden puppet, but I actually became the real live boy. And I got a blue fairy to prove
That's great. Yeah, Pinocchio.
it.
So
Except
good.
he's a he, not a she. But oh well, you
That's
can't
all
have.
right. It's pretty interesting right there. Yeah, I agree with you. There's some wonderful people on the planet, and unfortunately, there's these divisions and these walls that have been created. But once they get to the level of spirit and higher consciousness, we all speak the same language. It's a
Yeah.
universal language, and I think that's the
Those
barrier.
people are all looking for this cause, and the cause that gets put in front of their face all the time before they can really sit down and think about it is us and them. Well, we don't want the Democrats, we don't want the liberals, or we don't want the conservatives doing this or that. Always us or them. The black people are saying Black Lives Matter. Yes, they do. But white lives matter too. Well, yes, they do. Who's arguing?
Animals' lives matter. Yes, they do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It gets to that point, and then you think to yourself, well, obviously, you people work together from day to day. Obviously, somebody does somewhere in the continuum. So it's so stupid. Some of the things that are being
Right.
done and orchestrated right
But
now.
they got to have this cause,
Hmm.
but they hit them right away with that little very shallow us and them. The person that says that clothes makes the man is the most shallow individual you will ever meet. The next shallowish is the one that decides, and it doesn't matter what race they are, that God shortchanged everybody that's not their color. Because everybody's got a little of that somewhere, no matter what race you are. I remember when I was going for my master's belt, the Asians didn't think any non-Asian could ever get a perfect mastery over a Chinese martial art.
Hmm.
And they ran me through the mill, the gauntlets, but I got it. I got my mastery in Chinese Kenpo. But I mean, everybody's got it. So that's the next shallowest person. And then when you learn to look at people and see, look them right in the eye, and don't look at the things that makes them different. Look at the things that make them the same. And then you'll see the human soul behind all that facade. The skin, the clothes will all melt away, and you'll see something very, very precious and very, very valuable. And it's the one thing they never want you to see because human lives are cheap to them. But it's the one thing the Creator values above all else because each one of those souls is a single spark of his own conscious awareness, given free will to become what it will. That's God's eternal gift. Everybody kind of covers it up in some goofy religious message that's just kind of shallow and self-serving to some clergy somewhere or something like that. But that's God's the Creator's eternal gift. You're a piece of Him. You belong. And when you see that in that other person, that is what's precious in the universe, the multiverse, that other person whose eyes you're looking into. The most precious thing you can do is do something to boost up or to lift up that soul or that spirit. I remember my grandma once telling me that the most creative power given to men and angels is the power to relieve pain and suffering and bring joy. And if you can do that, like I say, now there's something beyond gold, beyond diamonds and rubies, which, like I say, all matter is 99.9999999% empty space. But that empty space is not empty space, it's conscious awareness. That is the valuable thing underneath the ruby, underneath the diamond,
Hmm.
underneath the skin or the clothing. That's the precious part. You do something for other people and you make them happy and you make them healthy and you help them in any way you can. Any little good thing you can do. This is like money in a bank that no one can ever touch or tax.
Hmm.
And you take that karma with you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I always like that saying, we're walking each other home.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
really, truly we are, stepping up into the full light universe. And I don't think it's a hard thing to do. It's just about raising consciousness, raising
yeah,
awareness and letting go of these false matrices.
yeah, yeah. Because once you get it, I gotta say, over the years, I've become more and more addicted to that.
Hmm.
I mean, I had some rough times with it here and there, and sometimes I felt bad for some of the fights that I got in. But I wasn't fighting just to be brawling. I was fighting because somebody's getting the living snot beat out of them. 4 or 5, 6, 7, whatever on one, or weak people or people with weapons against people who had nothing, just trying to oppress them. And it's kind of like, and I could do something about that. And I felt bad for being violent afterwards. But those people, sometimes you meet them later on, and they say, "Man, I'm sure glad you did that for me." And it's like,
Hmm.
wow, I never thought anybody cared that much. And it's kind of like, I didn't really think about it at the time, but that's exactly what I was doing. I couldn't walk away.
Right.
Um,
You have to back these bullies up. That's the bottom line. The bullies are out of
yeah,
control.
they are. They are. Evil prevails when good men do nothing.
Hmm.
So, look, America, how does it feel to be good for nothing?
Right. Yeah, you have to, like you were saying, you have to stand up and be counted and be fierce, be strong. And don't
Yeah.
let these guys take you down. I mean, don't let them sit there and tell you how to walk, talk, think, or act and pass all these all these laws out of lawlessness. I can't figure this out. They have all these things that they're
Yeah.
trying to pass right now. I mean, how
And they're
much
so
more?
right. They don't even have the right. Nobody has the right. You know what? Out of the Constitution, you don't even have the right to give your rights to them. You have the right to waive your right if you decide that it works in your best interest. Like the Fifth Amendment, I claim the Fifth. I'll speak, or you have the right to remain silent to anything you say. You can waive that right if you feel it's going to work in your benefit, or for whatever reason you want, you can waive it, but you can't give it to them where they decide for you.
Hmm.
But we're going to decide if we're going to euthanize you. We're going to decide if you should be vaccinated. Vaccines work all the time? No. Do they have side effects? Yeah, but you can't sue them now because we made that a law against it. It's kind of, where the hell did you get this right? Where did you get, people say, should marijuana be legalized? It's like, who gave them the right to make it illegal?
Hmm.
They say, well, you can't own an eagle feather. Exactly. Who gave you that right to say so? If I walk around and I find it, if I go picking on an eagle, well, I shouldn't be picking on even a sparrow for that matter.
Hmm.
But I mean, if I find a feather and I pick it up, you can tell me I got a $10,000 fine for owning a eagle feather without permission?
You know that,
I,
yeah,
I
they
mean,
do it because they can, John. That's the bottom line, because no one stood against them.
because people let them.
Yep, absolutely. Hmm. Yeah. Now they
Of
want the
course, the
death
nice
panels.
thing being me being about 6'5" and kind of brawny looking and very intimidating, and it's kind of, yeah, I ought to be intimidating. I've been through hell. I qualify as a tour guide. I can tell you all the best places to eat there.
Just
But
passing through, really.
yeah, yeah. But it kind of helps me get a little elbow room. Sometimes it's like I can look down at a cop and he can decide, it's about time for coffee anyway.
Hmm. It's wild. Yeah, well, you're a blessing, I think, anyway. And I'm always happy to have you on the show. I'm glad you're back and things are going well for you. It sounds like things are okay over there where you're at right now. So I'm glad to hear
For
that.
now, they were going fine a while ago too, and
Oh,
then all of a sudden, I found myself taken 2 cities away and put out in a blizzard right out of my sick bed. So
jeez. Yeah.
anything can happen, and usually does. But for the time that I have, one day at a time, moment by moment, and that's how anybody should live. I live each day like it could be my last, and that's been a cool thing too. That hasn't done me no harm.
Hmm.
And it's brought me blessings I wouldn't have seen any other way. So, even in the hard parts of it, there's some sunlight. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I always say expect the unexpected. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I always tell my students, be the unexpected.
I like that.
And then there's another saying even just beyond that. Any expected move brings expected results.
Mm.
You're going to throw a punch, you pretty, and it's expected, and you're telegraphing the punch. You pretty much know where you're going to end up.
Hmm.
So,
Yep. That's so true, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
There are
Well,
things to know. Knowledge is power.
oh, absolutely, it is,
Even
and
a
also
little guy can have a lot of power. You know that punch is coming. Don't be there.
right. And you were touching on breaking the spells too, and how words have spells to them and association with spells.
Everything is
Right.
spellcraft. Everybody uses spellcraft. They just don't call it that. They're made not to see it. It's a problem-solving thing. A period of time. During this time, we're going to bring about certain influences. It doesn't have to be occult or demonic or anything else. You're using what influences, what resources do you have to help you reach this goal? If you've been programmed as an ultra or a monarch or something, and they use sleep teaching and hypnosis to make you this way, what influences can you bring, use your real player on your laptop, make your own recordings and do your own sleep teaching to program your own personal values into you. It's what resources or influences can you bring to bear to accomplish a desired goal. A spell isn't yelling bippity boppity boo and shit happens. It's doing something. It's bringing about. There's a formula to it. It's problem solving. That's a witch's problem-solving tool. That's if we get, the people make witch into all kinds of things. This green-faced hag with a wart on her nose and, brewing all kinds of obscene stuff in a cauldron. And it's a wise one. Somebody who's wise. If you're wise, even Jesus told his disciples, look, I'm sending you out before wolves and look around us. Isn't it true? Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves.
Yep.
Learn, understand, use what influences and resources you have to make your goals. If you're not strong enough to lift that thing, use the resource of a lever or your card jack or whatever, you use what's available to get where you got to go, but get where you got to go.
Absolutely.
Find a way.
Yeah, well said. And of course, if people want to access your book, Practical Witchery, it's on Bookrix, so they can get that and download it for free. Are you still working on it with the chapters?
No, I haven't added anything in a while. Actually, I'm kind of contemplating finishing the third of one of the full-length novels I did, Matriarch of the Witch Clan, Warrior of the Witch Clan, and there's a third novel. Actually, I've been about halfway through, but I haven't touched it in a while.
Nice.
Called Witch Clan Dark Heritage. But there's like 14 books there. Like I say, even the ones that are made for entertainment are teaching books. They're teaching you precepts and ways and things about spellcraft, the way real witches see it, the way we did in our family. Originally, when I started writing them, I wanted people to understand exactly what my family was about. What did I come up in? What kind of a household did I come up in? How did I learn the craft? Was it all this spooky Addams Family stuff, or was there something substantial? So I shared a lot of my own life lessons in these stories. Someone once told me, outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. Inside a dog, of course, it's too dark to read.
That's great. Yeah, I encourage everybody to take a good look at all of John's books, by the way. And we're just about out of time here, John. I just want to thank you so much for joining us. It's always such an honor to have you on. I'm very glad that you're well. Yeah, it's just really nice to have you on. You're so wise on so many different levels. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And stay tuned for Shiny Side Out with David Dunder and Becky coming up next to sell you on into the night from Down Under, as they always do for their fabulous show. And I think within the illusion of space and time, we have maybe just a few minutes here, plus or minus. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with tonight? Anything you'd like to suggest or?
Well, I'd fully suggest Practical Witchery. That book is not a story or a fantasy. It's pretty much. And you don't have to read it from beginning to end. You can go chapter by chapter as the topic kind of piques your interest. Yeah, but it kind of gives you a perspective of a way of looking at things beyond this illusion to some of the things that make real witches. If you're a witch already, it'll make you a better witch. If you're not a witch, it'll make you a wiser person. Doesn't have to make you into a witch. Just wise.
Is that for all ages, John? What do you think?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's I didn't get into anything like any kinky sex magic or anything like that. I just got some meat and potatoes in there and I put it in as generic language as I could, and I've gotten some really good reviews from some people from a lot of different cultures, read it and identified with it and researched their own culture just with that perspective in mind and got so much more out of it. It was a blessing. I highly recommend that. Or even if you just want some light reading and that, the other ones are fine. You'll love them. They're good stories. They're entertaining, and you'll also understand something about being wise and how that applies.
Excellent. And also, you're on Facebook, so if people want to reach out to you.
Oh yeah,
connect with you.
Yeah. Even if I don't know you, it's like because there's so many people that read the books and that, I'll go ahead and okay your friend request. You start selling sunglasses or luggage on my page, I'll block you faster than you can say Facebook. But otherwise, I'm always happy to meet you, talk. Some people got rather unique problems because of some of these programs. It's like I can talk to you about some of those. Talk to me, tell me about it. I might know some of what's happening with you and might have some advice for getting through it.
Exactly. Yeah, we certainly appreciate that without a doubt, because you have survived things that most people would be taken out instantaneously with. So, yeah. I'd like to see you also write a book on martial arts at some point.
Well, I really should.
You really should, because you have so many skills.
I do have a photo album where I got some tips and stuff in martial arts for training, and I did do a couple little videos for certain kind of trainings. It's a nice quick fix, even if you're already into martial arts or just thinking about it. But there's a couple techniques that'll help you if you get to where you master them and they become your own. They'll really help you through some bad situations, because I've used them a lot myself.
And also they help with restoring, I think, on a higher level with all the duress of mind control.
Oh, yeah, because you got to discipline yourself. You got to get past your own fear. Like I say, ultras aren't fearless. We've just overcome our fear. We got more to be afraid of than most people. But the difference between a craven coward and a hero, both of them are terrified. One is controlled by his fear. The other one overcomes it.
Very nice. That's well said indeed. Yeah. Well, I certainly want to thank you very much. I know this thing's going to switch gears here, and we're going to be out of here in a second. But I want to wish you a happy Ostara and enjoy and celebrate and just enjoy that beautiful sun over there,
Oh, yeah.
Just
it was surprising to be in the green already. Normally, I'd be waiting for that to bloom out there up north when I was in New York or New Hampshire. And I used to, I get so high when the green starts coming out on the trees and that. And it's kind of like already here. It's been in like the 70s and 80s.
Oh, it's beautiful. Of course, then you have the water, too, the nice ocean. So, yeah.
Oh, it was warm as bath water.
Sounds great. Well, thank you again, John. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody have a wonderful week, and see you next time. Thanks.